All right, welcome back to Lindustries Outdoors. Got another maintenance video. I just replaced my thermostats. I'm gonna go ahead and do two common maintenance things for the cooling system on this 2016 Optimax Pro XS engine. It's a 250. I'm going to inspect and clean the strainer for the compressor. So that's down under the bottom cowling. And then I'm going to rebuild my Poppet valve. Both of those require the bottom cowling. Unless you've got very tiny, nimble hands, bottom cowling will have to come off. So I'll show you how to do that. But once you get in there, they're pretty easy to access. So I'll show you how to do both of those things and explain a little bit about why I'm doing them as I'm doing it. Okay, so the bottom cowling is pretty easy. First thing I always do is just pull this little seal all the way off, all the way around. It's split in the front. So you just kind of grab it from one of the front ends, pull it all the way around, and it just comes off. And then there are 4 bolts that need to be removed. There's one down in here, a little hard to see, but there's one here. It's one of the easier ones to get to. There's one, see if I can zoom on it, this one. This bolt in the front up here. I'm poking at a screwdriver. And that one is going to take, I usually use an angled, not an angled, but a socket extension with the adapter that lets it kind of act like a U-joint. That's probably a better term for that, but this little guy, it's an 8mm. Anyways, on to the next. And then there's one down under here. There's a little groove for it. See if I can get that to focus nicely as well. Hard spot, but you can see it. It is this guy, right up under there. And the last one is arguably the hardest. It's behind this plug. So this plug, it's rubber. You can get at it from the inside, poke it out, and then there's one right basically here on the other side of this, where these two meet, is where that last one is. And you can look down, you'll be able to find it with a flashlight. Might have to move some hoses out of the way, but there's one more right there. Straight through this plug once you remove it. If you look through there with a flashlight too, you'd be able to see it. But that's that last one. So there's one here, one up top, one on the bottom, and then that one right up front. All right, first one I'm going to do is one of the easier ones just to get it out of the way. I like to use 8mm socket with a little adapter. Line it up, and then it'll just come off. An 8mm ratcheting wrench is also a good investment. Definitely going to need to get me one of those. In my thermostat video, I talked about that. Needing an 8mm ratcheting wrench, because there are some spots where you just can't fit a socket. Even this nice little compact quarter drive. But this will work. Here's our first of the 4. Set that off to the side. And then I'm going to do one behind the plug next. So I usually take a screwdriver and try to be pretty careful. Go to just the edge of the plug and very gently pop it out. If you do damage the plug, it's a pretty cheap part to just order as well, but you just kind of pop it out nice and gently and get a lip on it and it comes out just like that a bit. Wasn't able to get a really good angle on that bolt, but once you have that plug out, it's pretty easy to do. Might need a couple of extensions or a little bit longer one, but you're able to stick your 8mm through the plug, and it basically just goes straight onto it. You can move the hoses around with your hand and you'd be able to see then the bolt. It's just hard to get a camera into, but you'll know when you're on it, and then it just comes off. And a trick that I've liked to do with this specific bolt that makes it so I don't have to fight trying to get it back in is I leave this one in this side of the cowling, and it's the first one then that I put back in when I put the two pieces of the cowling back together. So I'm just going to leave that one there. It's fully loosened, but it's still sitting halfway through this side of the cowling now. So when I split these, it's going to still sit in here, and that'll make my job a lot easier when I'm putting these back together. So we're going to move up to the front now. Might have to move some hoses out of the way, or you can just use an 8mm wrench. Easier to get that in there than a socket set, but for speed, I've tried to get this in here, and last 2 times it's worked. Once you get it on, you can kind of press in and down, and that'll keep it on there. And then you just twist, and it comes apart. All right, there's our one we just pulled out. There's the one we just loosened. Again, that one I'm going to leave in instead of pulling it out because there's a bunch of hoses in the way. You can take it out, but when I split the cowling, I usually just pull this side off and let it down instead of fully removing it. If I were going to fully remove it, which would also require removing this bracket and a couple more here to remove this hose section, then I would be removing it. But since I'm just taking it down to check the strainer, I'm going to leave that one in as well. So the last one we have to do is down under here. Very easy. Just try not to drop it into the trim or jack plate area. I've seen, actually happened to me, I had to fish it out. It got stuck between my my jack plate and one of the side or the mounts on the jack plate, and it was wedged in there. So I had to fish that out. There's a couple spots where if you drop it, it can get wedged in. So just be careful of removing that one because you've got all the pieces of your engine stuff sitting down here. So just be mindful not to drop that. But other than that, that one's really easy to access. Comes out, and then we can take the cowling apart. There we go. Last one taken out. Now we can split the cowling. I like to start at the back to split the cowling. Don't have to go all the way yet. Just get it a little bit apart, and that makes it a little easier. There's one key thing you have to remember before getting the cowling all the way split. Your trim switch over here is connected, and it's just this little, let me get a zoomed in shot of it. This guy right here connects down into your trim switch. So if you pull this off without disconnecting this, this is going to be hanging. You can rip that off, no good. So before you fully disassemble this, now that you've got the room to kind of get in here and grab it, just unclip and pull that out, and then this entire bottom cowling will come right off. So that's what we're going to do, just unclip, and it slides out. And then right here, this whole cowling is off. There we go. Set this down back by the top cowling. And then for the other side, like I said, I'm not fully removing it. I'm just removing it enough to service what I need to. So you can pull it out a little bit and basically just let it hang. Here's that screw I was talking about. I left it in because it's way easier to reassemble without having to try to thread that in while this is put together. I start with this one and leave it in, and makes going back together way easier. All right, so now we can get into what we're here for, cleaning the strainer and rebuilding the poppet valve. We'll start with the strainer. Strainer is over on this side. So it's this hose up from your compressor. This is your compressor. This hose runs down, and there is a strainer in there. So we're gonna have to clip the specific type of zip tie that they have and pull this hose off, unscrew the strainer, then we can clean it out, put it back in, and that's a pretty simple job, but it's definitely something to keep up on. This one is really easy to get full of weeds and muck or like hair algae, that kind of stuff. It clogs it up real bad. And if you get it too clogged up, you're not feeding enough water to the compressor, and that can be a huge issue. This thing blows up, you'll have metal chunks all up in your fuel rails and injectors, and it'll be a mess. So definitely something to keep an eye on, especially if you are fishing in lakes that have a ton of junky vegetation. Like I said, that hair algae will fill it up real easily. So this is something I do almost monthly because it's just kind of easy to get in and check, and a little bit of insurance to make sure the compressor keeps going. All right, so we're just gonna get in there. Make sure you cut the right one, which is the higher up one right here, not the one with the brass fitting. The strainer is a black plastic piece. There. So get in there. Try to cut this. Good side cutters makes that easy without having to damage the hose. And I'll get a little bit more into this, but it's a specific type of zip tie. They call it a tie strap. I bought them in bulk because they're really cheap, and I figured I'd be doing it a lot. A couple different dealers sell them, but it's a specific type of zip tie that's got a kind of curve to it, so it seals all the way around. Instead of just a standard zip tie where you can get a leak going by because it's only sealing on the one side or not going perfectly circular. They're really cheap, so I just bought a lot of them and been using them on the engine because that's what they use. Once you get that snipped, this hose comes off, and then you can get your socket and take the strainer out. Now this is a plastic piece, so try not to strip it out. You can replace it, but ideally, try not to strip it out. It's got really deep threads. Just take your time getting it out, and then we can inspect it. I just did this not too long ago, and I haven't been anywhere where I was up real shallow yet, so I'm not expecting it to be crazy, but it surprised me before. I thought I was out in nice, clean water, and yeah, all right. So this one, not too much. I've seen it completely clogged up before, but this one's pretty nice, easy. Almost nothing in there. You can see kind of the beginning of some stuff starting to, I'll get a better close-up. There we go. This one's almost perfect. I did it about 2 weeks ago. A couple weeds down there, and I haven't gone anywhere super shallow recently. I've been out in at least about 10 feet of water most days, so yeah, not too surprising that it's not too clogged up, but I have seen this completely caked, no water able to come through. I'm still gonna go rinse it out anyways, but definitely something to keep an eye on because that is what's feeding your compressor the cooling water. It's an easy thing to do. It just comes out, and then you clean it, put it back in, and fresh tie strap, and good to go. So all you need to do to clean this is run it under the sink. You can blow it out with an air compressor if you really want to, or hook it up to one side of the sink. You can usually jam that in the faucet, and it'll blow it backwards and clean it out nice. So definitely something to just keep clean. I'll clean it out and reinstall, and then we can move on to the poppet valve. All right, cleaned up. One more thing that I've been doing when I replace this, just to keep it nice and sealed, is a very light coating of this. Doesn't have to be exactly this one, but it's been good. That's why all that white stuff is around there. It's just good to keep those threads nice and sealed, because this is a plastic component, and easy thing to do. You don't have to go crazy with it. Just a little bit of a light coating on, just a little bit. Like, it doesn't need to do all that much. There we go. Just a little bit of that on the threads, and thread it in by hand, and then we can finish it off with the socket. Light coating of that. finish it up with the socket. You'll know when it's all the way in because it'll stop going. If you go too far, then you can, again, this is a plastic component. So if you try to over tighten it, or once you run out of threads and keep trying to tighten it, it is pretty easy to break if you torque on it, but it's pretty easy to get in and you'll know when it's all the way in. The threads will stop and it'll just kind of be a hard stop. Easy as that. All right, there we are. Sealed all the way up. Now it's just a matter of putting the hose back on. Make sure this gets all the way seated past the barb and then as deep as you can get it on. And then it's this component here. You can see this tie strap from Mercury has, I don't know, there's a lot of manufacturers that make these. It's got a rounded edge to it, so it seals perfectly circularly, or at least better than a standard zip tie. So that way it will seat and seal all the way around the fitting instead of kind of getting really tight pressure on one end and a little bit loose on the other. This will just keep it a little bit more uniform and sealed up around the fitting. And this is what they want you to use on, you can see on a lot of the other fittings, or every other fitting like this, it's got one of these tie straps on it. So just get that on in a good spot, tighten her down. It's also what is feeding the P stream on this engine. So if you notice that P stream is weak, definitely something to check out is the compressor strainer, because that is what's feeding that. It's not just the rest of the engine. The P stream's coming out of the compressor. So if you notice that end up being weak, then check out this strainer. Might have a bunch of stuff in there blocking water from getting there. Easy thing to check. And then we can move on to the poppet valve. This is the poppet valve, this guy right here. This is not something that's typically looked on all too much. It's not always an issue. You see it a little bit in higher hour motors, something that if you've owned your motor for a while, you might want to look into. It can cause some really weird issues because it controls or helps control the water pressure at higher speeds and higher pressures. Above about 7 psi, the thermostats aren't really controlling the flow anymore. Then it's more on the poppet valve. This is a spring pressure valve that starts opening and allowing water to bypass and dump out the exhaust above a certain pressure. So that way you're not getting too much water pressure, helps the engine kind of regulate. But if it's malfunctioning, it'll stick open or closed, and you'll either get way too much water pressure when you don't need it, so it will maybe weigh like in the 30s, because it's sticking closed and not opening, not allowing it to drop, or it'll stick open, and then you'll have almost no water pressure. You'll notice it really if you go on a really hard run, full throttle, and then you set down, and you watch your temperature start climbing, you maybe get an overheat alarm because this stuck open and is no longer closing, allowing the water pressure to build back up at the low speed so the thermostats can take over. And that's one of the weird things that a poppet valve can do. And that happens from just excessive wear, stuff getting stuck in it. It can cause a lot of weird things, so it's something to keep an eye on. If your thermostats and water pump are good and the strainer is good, then poppet valve is usually the next suspect for weird cooling issues. So mine is just old and the grommet was starting to wear out and it was sticking open, so we're just going to replace it all today. It's been in service since 2016, so definitely due for a replacement. It's really easy, straightforward. I'll show you the parts here quick and then we'll get into it. Here's the parts for the poppet rebuild or effectively replacement. There are two metal plates that I'm not replacing. Those are the carriers I'm replacing the Poppet, which is the plastic valve piece itself. Diaphragm, it's a rubber seal basically, acts as a diaphragm in the Poppet itself. The gaskets for those carrier plates. The grommet, which is what the Poppet slides in and out of. And then the spring, which allows the Poppet to go back into place and provides the necessary pressure. This is one of the common failure points. A spring wearing out, not having enough pressure to actually push the Poppet back in, as well as the grommet. If the grommet is not perfectly set up or gets torn or has some issues, then the Poppet can get caught. It's supposed to slide in and out of the grommet effectively like it's buttered. Like it needs to have perfectly smooth motion and not get caught for the Poppet to function. So those are the parts I'm going to replace. Pretty straightforward. All right, so to take this off, it's just a 1/2-inch socket. Break them both loose, and then they just come out nice and easy. And then this whole thing will come out. So I'll take this off quick, and I can show you the Poppet in the state that it's in currently. Here. So this little plastic cross-section piece is the Poppet itself. That's our valve. Obviously this is the spring. And then there's these two plates. This is the back carrier. And then here is the diaphragm with the washer. Diaphragm, washer. This screws into the Poppet with the spring between it. And it effectively allows the Poppet to open and close under pressure. So this section is sliding in and out of the grommet, which is in the engine there. So I'll remove that here quick too. But the grommet is a rubber seal that the Poppet is sliding in and out of. And I think my grommet and my spring are both just a little worse for wear. You can see most of the paint is worn off my spring. These come painted fully black. I think it's just a little weak, and the diaphragm also is probably due for replacement, but full replacement. It's pretty cheap. I think it was about $50 for all these parts. And I'm just going to take it apart quick, put it back together, and we'll be good to go. All right, so we're just going to disassemble the existing Poppet. It's just one screw holding it together. Keep an eye on how it goes together. So we're going to have the Poppet and the spring are one side, and then we've got this middle carrier plate with the screw, the washer, and the diaphragm through it, and that's what makes up this Poppet assembly. All right, so here's a new diaphragm. Washer seats right into it. Screw through that, and then into the carrier plate. So this raised section is this side where the Poppet and the spring will go. So we'll put the new diaphragm and washer through. So that's ready. Then we grab the new spring. So our new spring and the new Poppet. We'll do a quick comparison of the old versus new Poppet as well. Looks like the old one is really beat up. It's just, this plastic gets worn. I'm not really sure what happened to this guy, but this is the new one. That should slide in and out without catching on the grommet at all, especially since we're putting a new grommet in. So we'll do that with our new spring. Get that into our assembly here. So there it is. Poppet, spring, screw on the back side here. Try to get it lined up. It is a little tricky. you can get the screwdriver onto the screw and then hold the rest in place. You can kind of twist it till the threads hit the right spot, tighten it down, and you do want to tighten all the way down. Get it till the poppet is seated as far as it'll go. There it is. Nice, everything's all nice and centered, threaded all the way in. And there's our new assembly for this portion. Then we've got the grommet, which we'll put in next. So we'll grab that. The grommet is a bit tricky. You don't really want to drop the other one. It's already in the engine. So here is the new, yeah, that's much better. The old one was catching all the time. So I'm thinking that was our issue. The poppet and the grommet were just catching each other. So we'll pull the old grommet out, put the new one in, and then we will be ready to put it all back together pretty much. Okay, a little tough to see, but you can kind of tell. I'll grab the screwdriver to point it out, that there is this little rubber inner circle in here. So this, it's pretty easy to replace. You don't have to replace the carrier it's sitting in. There's a metal carrier here that's pounded in. You just need to replace this little rubber grommet. So ideally, don't poke it in. You can kind of come in and pull it from the back enough to get some leverage, and then pull the whole grommet out. All right, so that grommet, since we're replacing it, if you can get a pair of needle nose pliers in, be a little delicate, but just grab it, and it just kind of comes out. See if I can get that back in front of the camera. It's a pretty easy way to remove it without dropping it and losing it in there. And there it is. So this, you can see it's kind of got a channel all the way around it, and that's what it seats in there. So you just want to start that channel, work it all the way around until this grommet is nicely seated all the way around in that channel, and then we can start putting her back together. Might take a minute, especially with a new grommet, but you start one side, work it around, get it and just push that back lip around, get it to sit. You'll almost hear it snap into place once it all nice and sits in there, and then just make sure all the way around it's nice and seated. You don't want it folded over on itself. You don't want it kind of lipped up on one side or anything. You want it perfectly seated so it stays where it's supposed to be, and then also so that the poppet will slide in nicely. First gasket on, we'll just get the screws put in and the gasket on. So you'll be sitting like this. And we'll take our assembly we just put back together, this guy, put it on there. And then we got one more gasket, and then we can put it back. All right, there is the full poppet assembly. Both gaskets, the one between the plates, the one up front here between the plate and the engine, assembly with the new poppet, the new spring, new diaphragm and screw inside here, and then we'll just put her together. And you should be able to feel the poppet basically get into its grommet there. If you're off axis, you're going to feel the spring kind of resisting you. So you just got to line it up. There it is. Thread these in a bit by hand and should be good to go. Oh, finish tightening them down. You don't have to crazy torque them down, but get them nice and tight. There we are, Poppet valve fully rebuilt, ready to go. Now all that's left to do is put the cowling back together, and then we will be good to go. All right, so I like to start with this side of the cowling to put it on first, because this is the one I left those 2 screws in, the back and the front. You usually push those as far in, and then you just kind of slide it back on the way you took it off. You'll see there are grooves that it goes into. I'll get a better angle of it when I put the other side cowling on. Keep an eye out for any hoses or anything that are down here. Try not to pinch them. Just take your time, slide it on. Again, it's pretty hard to put on wrong. It really won't let you put the cowling plate back on unless it's in the exact right spot. Line it up, and remember we have to put the trim switch connector back on over here, so you can kind of start this one, line it up in the 2 little grooves that it sits in. But then, before we get it too tight, reconnect your trim switch. That all good to go. And then you can kind of start finishing and tightening it up. Sometimes you have to kind of work with this little piece back here, make sure that it slots in all the way. There you go. Kind of work it in till they're lined up. The front's all good, the back is close. So get these close together. And then this screw that's through the hole in the bottom down here, we'll get my wrench back on that, the 8mm. Tighten her back up. Do the easy ones first, just to get the 2 pieces of the cowling together. Easy. This is one of the harder ones, but if you left it like I did and made sure that it was still there when you're putting them together, then that makes this job a lot easier. When I first did this a few years ago, I would take it out and then I would I'd like tape on onto the wrench, the bolt that I was trying to feed in and have in there with a flashlight. No, just make sure that bolt is in the part of the cowling before you put them together, and then you're good to go. Next one I'm going to do, this one on the underside here, the easier one to get to, just get that out of the way. And I'll tighten back up the front one, which we left in there again. Just undoing what we did to start this. Then our last one on the top and the back here. Thread it in a little bit by hand. Finish it off, then we can put the seal on. Good to go. All right, all 4 bolts retightened. Cowling's all good. Lined up, we just put our seal back on. Start with one of the front ends and just work all the way around. Just slides right onto that groove. All the way back around and done. And then we just pop the top cowling back on and ready to take her on the water. All right, and that's it. Did the strainer for the compressor, cleaned that out and got that all inspected and put back in, and then changed out my poppet valves. So definitely going to be a much better working cooling system. I was having some issues occasionally where it would stick open after going on a wide open throttle run, and changed everything else first, and poppet valve was definitely the last thing. I even did the water pump. So should be good to go now. And if you want me to make any more maintenance videos, I'm going to be trying to keep working on this engine. This is a new thing for this channel I'm trying out. I'll be doing my full maintenance on this engine next winter. So I'll try to get a video for all the things I do for that. I'll drop the lower unit and do the water pump, spark plugs, anything else that I run into. All that good stuff I'll try to document, but this is just the start of some stuff I needed to do and figured I would document it. If you want me to try to do another video and get some different clips of anything you think I didn't do as good as I could have, let me know. This is hopefully an ongoing series, and I'll try to keep making it better and keep updating it. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the next video. I should have some more maintenance videos coming over the next year. So get subscribed, like the video, and I'll see you in the next one.